Hi everyone, hope you're well. Strange times, they've been strange times recently. There's a lot of noise in the media at the moment, and there's a lot of stress and worry about what's going to happen to the property market. Understandably so, I think, because we've been through something that we've never been, well, we've certainly not been through in my lifetime, most people's lifetimes. Both in terms of emotions, but also in terms of the economics of what's gone on. And if those of you that know me, I like to base all my decisions, all my property investment work, advice, management on accurate data. And the peculiar thing about this scenario is there's no precedent, it's never happened before. So there's a lot of people going out there and saying what they think is going to happen. And I've been on been involved in a few different meetings, different Zoom calls where I've had an awful lot of people talking about what they think. I think this is going to happen. I think my HMOs are going to do this. I think my SA is going to do that, and that's all great. And we can all have as many opinions as we like, and frankly, I've got enough of them to last a lifetime. But acting on your opinion is not really going to be a great strategy for you as a property investor, and for us as a community. And as a marketplace for people who ultimately depend upon us to provide them with houses. So what I wanted to do today is just talk about what I know has happened and what I can see is starting to show itself or manifest itself in the data and the evidence that I've been gathering during the lockdown. There's not going to be any opinion in any of this, so if you're looking for opinions, you're going to need to go elsewhere, sorry. I haven't got the answers for you. If you want answers, you're going to have to find them yourselves. I'm still searching for some answers to some questions that I've got, and we're going to hopefully find those answers as time goes by. But for today, really what I want to just do is just sort of reappraise ourselves of the situation, understand what the situation means for us as an industry, and then try and plot some sort of way forward. So if that sounds cool for everyone, we'll kick it off. I'm going to pick on a particular article I saw. I think it was today, or was it yesterday, in the Guardian newspaper, and I pick on the Guardian, it could be any newspaper really. There was an absolute nonsense article about nationwide data showing that the property prices have fallen to their lowest level last month for 11 years, which incidentally was around about the financial crash and the crisis. And we've got to understand what that is and what that means to us. So yes, property prices are erratic in the months of March and April. And why is that? Well, look out your window, look at your television, you'll find out why. We've been through massive shutdown as a country. When there's a shutdown, it's going to skew the data. So we're going back to my data and analyst days and looking at analytics. If your data set or your pool of data wasn't good enough, you didn't publish. If you weren't confident with your data, you did not publish. Now, if we take that article, it's quite amusing if you can dig it out. If you read all the way down to the bottom of the article after you've read through all the blurb and the clickbait and all of the fear mongering, if you get to the bottom, it says that actually the ONS has decided not to publish any data in relation to house prices. So if the ONS has decided not to publish the house price data, they clearly don't think that it's right. But nevertheless, Nationwide has cracked on and published the data, which of course they're going to do. They're a business. They've got data. They're going to publish it. They need to generate income from that data. But to base an entire story and then to project that across to the wider world that there's a financial problem within the property industry is for the fairies, frankly. If you believe that, if you read that sort of stuff and you think that that's true, then you probably just want to disconnect from the from the video now, because it's just not worth your time, because I'm just going to try and make some sense of what the hell's going on. So if you look at COVID-19, apologies for my slightly amateurish chart board, whatever you want to call it, but it is what it is. I'm hoping you can see it on the video. We've got this COVID-19 issue, yeah? So I want you to think of the property industry. It's kind of like a shop, okay? So you've got your shop here, let's get rid of that. And in your shop, you've got short life and you've got long life products. Put a little circle on those. Okay, so you're in your shop and you're doing your stock keeping, and you're ordering short life products and you're ordering long life products. Now I want you to think of these products in the shop as houses, properties. Okay, so if they're properties, okay, and then suddenly COVID-19 causes lockdown, right? So we've got short life and long life properties. Now, what happens is the shopkeeper, put that smiley face in there, he's got a problem. He's got two problems. One problem is he can't sell his long life stuff, okay? Because in lockdown, all those lovely people that come to his shop don't come to his shop anymore. Stressful, worrying, difficult, okay? So long life, in essence, I don't know if I can do the icon or what would have been on a cassette player, it's paused. Okay, so you've got your stock in your shop, but you can't sell it because nobody's coming to buy it, or very few people can come and buy it. Right? In addition to that, you've got all this short life stuff. So let's say this stuff lasts for 12 months, the long life stuff. Your short life stuff might only last for, I don't know, let's say 8 weeks. Okay? So we've got our short life products, our short life houses, and we've got our long life houses. So our short life houses, we've got to do something with. Okay, so in the months of March and April, there was an opportunity, albeit difficult, to exchange and complete on properties. Now, if you're a shopkeeper and you've got short life properties, so you've got all this short life stuff, you've got to find an outlet for it. So what are you going to do to get rid of it? What do most people do when they want to get rid of something? Yes, of course they do. They'll reduce it. Reduce. Take anything you can get your hands on. Sorry about the pen. Reduce to get short of that stock. So we're seeing that in the data. In the data that Nationwide has published, we're going to see this effect. What we're not going to see in the data is the long life stuff. The long life stuff, we've paused. Now, I've got 12 months to get short of that, so I don't need to sell it. So there's no rush to get exchange and completion on these, and there's no rush to reduce, because there's no rush because it's a longer life product. Now, if you're a typical person that's in a chain or as a standard sort of bread and butter sale, there's stacks of this stuff still sat there waiting to come back onto the market. Now, as we come out of lockdown, I could have done with a better pen. As we come out of lockdown, now we've got demand. So suddenly my little shop is back up and running, fantastic. The long life product can now sell. So it comes back onto the market and it's not reduced, it's at the same price. Excellent. In addition to that, we've got any of the reduced stuff that didn't sell is coming back onto the market. And it's reduced, hooray. So it's a good time for us to buy. If we're going to invest, it's a good time for us to buy because all this stuff that's reduced, all the short life product, that suddenly can now be sold. So as an investor, if you're looking to expand your portfolio, buy a new product, you want to be looking for this reduced stuff, and that's great. But you've also got all this long life stuff where people are still going to be quite content to wait because they've been in lockdown, they've paused their lives, and that's great because you've got plenty of time. There's no incentive to sell. So what that means is we've sort of got I need a better pen. We've got a bit of a seesaw, okay? And we've got the cheap stuff here and the more expensive stuff there, okay? And they're both pushing down on the seesaw, okay? So it's not pushing stuff this side up, it's not pushing this side up, okay? It's in equilibrium, it's steady. So your cheap or your reduced stuff and your full price stuff or your short and your long life stuff is in balance. This stuff is going to get bought straight away, in my view. Why wouldn't it be? You know, the evidence is that if a property is cheap, it's below market value, it sells. Okay? We don't need to debate that. We've got this long life stuff that's still with a reluctance to reduce the price. What's that going to do? Well, we don't know because we don't know what demand looks like. So if there's no demand, if our shop doesn't got customers, then we'll probably end up with some more short life stock to keep it in balance. But if you've got a lot of customers, let's imagine a scenario where everybody's been sat in their houses for 10 to 12 weeks, bored with money that they wanted to invest in properties and now all come onto the market at once, then you could infer from that that there's probably going to be quite strong demand. And we need to understand what that looks like. Now, with demand, what we know from demand is in the public domain. If we look at Zoopla, they're saying that they're now busier than they were pre-COVID-19 and ahead of last year in terms of inquiries, searches that are converting, and I won't go into too much detail, but in essence they're saying that the demand is higher. Okay, we've also got the Ultimate Landlord Survey, so the Ultimate Landlord Group, which is why we're here now. We survey and we try to do polls and the like to try and get an understanding of what sentiment is in the market, and that is stronger now than at any point since we started back in October last year. So people want to buy. In addition to that, if we look at calls inbound into the estate agency, my estate agency has seen a steady increase over the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. If we look at other agencies, and particularly those in England, the comments are, we just can't keep up. We cannot keep up with the amount of inquiries. It's pent up demand that we're now seeing. So with that in mind, if we've got people wanting to buy from the shop, and they're going to buy all that reduced stuff straight away, and all that pent up demand is going to be there for the long life product, why would the long life product get reduced? Why, if you were the shop owner and you've got a load of customers queuing outside your door and they want to buy all of the short life stuff that's in the reduced bay, but they also want to buy all the stuff that's on your shelves as well because they haven't been able to go to the shop, would you reduce your prices? I know I wouldn't. Anyway, that's the data side of stuff. So, I wanted to try, apologies for my awful whiteboard, I will map this out a little bit better on a PowerPoint and share it after this. I want you to keep in mind that stale stock still needs to be sold, okay? And there is pent-up demand, and inquiries and calls are higher than they were pre-COVID. So if that's the case, there are no downward pressures on house prices at the moment. Now that might change. I'm not saying that they're going to continue to grow, but what I'm saying from an economics and a statistical perspective, there isn't a problem with demand, and there hasn't been enough supply, and that supply situation doesn't change because of COVID-19. There may be more properties that come onto the market over the coming months, and we'll explore that in a minute. And the most obvious one, and it's awful to say it, but a lot of people have lost their lives, and that they will have lived in homes that will come back onto the market and will have to be cycled through, and it remains to be seen what happens with those properties. It's a difficult data set to analyse, but we'll do our best and keep you posted on that. It's not nice, but we have to live in the reality of what we've got and work with it. And in terms of what we've got to work with, I would also like you to think about motivation and motivational factors that might affect us after we come out of lockdown. One of my favourite ones that I looked at is if you didn't like where you lived before the lockdown, you're really going to be a motivated mover now. If you've had to be locked up in a house that you don't like for the best part of 3 months, you're really going to want to move. And I think we see some of that in the data in terms of inquiries, people looking to move. If you don't like your neighbour, if your house isn't nice, it's got problems, it's got damp, whatever it might be, you might just want to downsize, scale back, save some money, whatever it might be. You're a motivated mover. So the rental market, and we see this in the data, there isn't a drop in demand for rental product across the board. There are nuances within the data between different types of properties, which we can talk about. But generally, if you wanted to move, you really want to move now. And the same applies to people wanting to sell their houses. If you wanted to sell your house before lockdown, you're going to be really motivated to sell it now. You don't want to be sticking around, and you may be inclined to accept a slightly lower offer if you're motivated to do so. But again, we don't know that yet. It's a little bit anecdotal in some respects because we don't know whether or not that people are going to do that, or if they follow the market, if the market remains buoyant, strong, or if prices actually go up, whether or not they just hold out for higher prices. But the key thing to keep in mind here is there's a lot of people motivated to move. So if you can find those people and talk to them and find a solution for them, that's got to be a positive thing, and it needs to be part of what I would suggest your strategy or your business strategy is. In terms of price inflation, there's a risk of price inflation, I think. There's a lot of cash floating around at the moment from bounce back loans, grants and stuff, and I know you can't use it, I've got to reiterate this, you cannot use it to buy assets, you can't use it to buy property, you can't use it for deposits on mortgages. I'm no expert in the mortgage market. If you want to speak to a mortgage specialist, I can certainly put you in touch with one who will explain it far better than I can, but the reality is that money's got to be used for something else. So it's going to be used for something else, but you could use it for refurbishment. I'm not qualified to say whether or not you can, can't, what the mortgage criteria are, but my understanding is that would be something that would be more favourable than using it to physically buy a property. So you might want to just consider that, because a lot of other people will be considering it too. And you can use the cash that's in the system for other things other than property, which might free you up with funds or free you up with monies to invest in property. You've also got a lot of people that have lost a lot of money in the stock market when that took a bit of a nosedive during the start of this crisis, so they may be looking to put their money elsewhere. We also, and again, kind of repeating myself, we know that inbound inquiries to agents are above the level of pre-COVID, so pre-COVID lockdown. So if the inbound inquiries are there, then there's just, we've just got to know that there's demand. There's some things we've got to watch out for. Mortgage products and what happens to the mortgage market. I believe you can still get an 80% loan to value mortgage. I might stand corrected on that, but I believe there's still one or two lenders still offering 80%. Be interested to see where that goes, whether or not that becomes more difficult or easier as time goes on. There are properties that need selling, so again, back to the reduced stock in the shop. If it's reduced and it's short life, you just got to seek out where that is, do your hunting around the shelves, look for the reduced stuff and get it bought. You've got to be really careful as well, and I know a lot of the trading companies talk about engaging with estate agents, sending them your letters, asking them to put you on the special book for below market value deals that they've got and all that sort of stuff, and that's great, and I'm sure that exists in some spaces. I would suggest that you're going to just overwhelm an estate agent that's already overwhelmed with coming back to work. So just be mindful of the fact that it's important to work with estate agents, and sometimes working with them is to just give them a bit of space, give them the opportunity to think about what they're doing, get their staff back into work, understand what's on the market, and then work through that. So you want to be nice and simple with your communication, bullet points at most in terms of what you're looking for, and leave the estate agents to go and do their work, and I'm sure they'll be in touch. One final thing to keep an eye on as well is the SA to residential. Obviously SA has been significantly impacted by the lockdown. It doesn't appear that that's going to change anytime soon either, with the lack of transport or transportation. There's still relatively strict rules in terms of what we can do and where we can go. And more importantly than anything else, the 14-day rule for people coming to visit the UK, which is certainly going to affect the holiday sector. So some people may be considering moving SA back into sort of more sort of bread and butter residential type setup. So watch out for that. Look out, because that's not going to last forever. But I'm just pretty certain that there's going to be opportunities to do stuff with that type of situation. So again, I don't want to bore you with detail. I don't want to go into too much information in terms of the data, but and the team at Ultimate Landlord are looking at the data daily, and it's our intention, until we can start meeting up together again, is to publish through this Facebook Live format. I'm not sure if it works or not. We'll have to wait and see. We're a little bit behind on the technology in terms of social media and publishing live, so we're more used to the sort of shaking hands and meeting in person. However, hopefully this is helpful for you. I am happy to take questions. If you can pop them in the comments bar, I'll be looking back at this and I'll publish this so that it can be watched again. If you've got any questions or you need anything from us, just drop a message in the comments bar, and I'd be delighted to help you. So thank you very much for listening to me waffle on this evening. I hope it made a bit of sense. I really wish you luck with your future plans, particularly when it comes to property investing and providing homes for people. Keep in mind that people have been really, really hurt by this, and we are here to provide a service to our industry. So we've got to be understanding with tenants, we've got to be understanding with people wanting to move. We've also got to be really understanding of people who want to or are looking to sell their houses as well. Let's not just beat them up. Let's be fair, let's be reasonable, let's get a deal that is a win for both people if we're going to negotiate. Okay, thank you. That's pretty much it from me. I'll catch you again next week. Thank you.